Hello, welcome back. I'm Statman Dave. It is time for Premier League predictions. You guys wanted it, I want to do it, so let's get this party started. Make sure, of course, to subscribe if you're new and like that goddamn video. Let's do it. So first up, we're going to go from bottom to top in the Premier League, so it's all about relegation. Coming 20th in the Premier League next season, of course, is going to be Cardiff City. Neil Warnock's really good at getting teams promoted out of the Championship. Has done it frequently, but his problem is keeping those teams up, the likes of Sheffield United and, of course, QPR, not staying in the Premier League after Warnock got them promoted from the Championship. Cardiff City were good defensively last season, conceding the joint fewest goals in the Championship. But going forward, they were quite poor, only scoring 69 goals in 46 games. Their top scorer was from central midfield, Callum Paterson. The danger man for Cardiff City this season, of course, is going to be Junior Hoilett. 11 assists and 9 goals in the Championship last season, was arguably Cardiff City's most productive player going forward. Could be an asset for them, but I do expect them to go straight back down. Sorry, Cardiff fans. Moving to the second team that I feel will face the drop again, it's going to be Huddersfield Town. Huddersfield Town came into the Premier League playing a really progressive pressing style of football. But unfortunately, I think that teams started to work them out. They only won one game out of the last 5 in the Premier League. Their signings haven't been great as well, signing some pretty much Monaco rejects. And you don't want to be on that line. Signing Terence Kongolo and, of course, Adama Diakabe. Also, Eric Durm on a free transfer, but I just think there's not enough for Huddersfield to stay in the Premier League with everyone else strengthening so much and spending all that cash. Moving to the final team that's going to face the drop, unfortunately, Brighton fans, it's going to be you. Brighton have bought a few players in the window, but I think as well Chris Hughton's side have been worked out. And it's one of these things where if they don't develop tactically, they're going to face the drop. Of course, Pascal Gross last season was absolutely awesome. Created more chances than any other player outside the top 6 sides. Interestingly, though, they've signed a player from the Eredivisie. Will it be a Luis Suarez or an Alfonso Alves? Commentators' favourite, Jahanbash, scored 22 goals in the Eredivisie last season and also registered 12 assists. A player that's very comfortable on the right wing and the left wing. Plays as a traditional winger on the right, right-footed, likes to hit the byline and get crosses into the box. So someone like Glenn Murray could score a few goals, but I don't think it'll be enough to keep Brighton in the Premier League. Moving on to who's going to get sacked first. That's the next topic of conversation. I think there's a few managers out there that could be seeing the chop in the early months of the season. But for me, Mark Hughes is absolutely favourite. Southampton have been a side that have got a lot of progressive managers as their head coach over the last few seasons. You're thinking Pochettino was the last one that really shone. Bringing in Mark Hughes was a step backwards, a manager that was just sort of geared to keep them in the Premier League. He did that, and now I really feel that there's only a ticking time bomb until he goes. Southampton struggled for goals last season. Charlie Austin, when he was fit, was really good, and that's why I think they're really going to struggle, and Mark Hughes is going to be the first manager out, and then Southampton will bring somebody else in that will steady the ship and keep them up in the Premier League. Moving on to the boring part of the Premier League, and that is mid-table mediocrity. There's a few teams in here that, unfortunately, guys, haven't spent enough money to get out of this zone. First up, of course, Southampton. I do feel they will struggle this season until they sack Mark Hughes, and then we'll see a massive resurgence. Watford are another team that are going to be stuck in that same area. Losing someone like Richarlison, yeah, they've got a lot of money, but he was a key part of their side. Creative and very, very good in the first 6 months of the season. Of course, Marco Silva went out, Javier Garcia came in, but I don't think he's got the side playing an attractive style of football to get them higher up the league. Players like Troy Deeney, who are still there, they haven't really developed their side and moved on. That's why I feel that Watford will be safe for the Premier League, but they aren't going to set any sort of fires in the world of fun alight. So let's move on to Sean Dyche's Burnley. Yes, they are massively down the table this season, but I think that's all down to the Europa League. I don't think their squad is big enough to deal with multiple competitions. But for me, Sean Dyche needs to go full in on the Europa League. Burnley have got such a good Europa League setup. You know, you're thinking that Atletico Madrid 4-4-2 that's worked so well for Atletico Madrid over the past X amount of years in Europe. Burnley set up the same way. 2 centre forwards, a workman-like midfield, and a good back four that's good at defending deep. Burnley have just got to go all in for winning that trophy. The first time they're in Europe for around 50 years, it's all in for Burnley in the Europa League, which means 15th in the Premier League. Not a bad season though, considering this is going to be exciting for those Burnley fans that get to go all the way to Aberdeen. So let's move on to another exciting team for the Premier League next season. That will be Fulham. I like the signing of Mitrovic, and again, if you want to check out my fantasy football video, that will be going up tomorrow because he could be a real top player in the Premier League to get you some points. He scored 12 goals in 18 games for Fulham in the Championship last season, winning 4.1 aerial duels. A target man and someone that Fulham can play off. Tom Kearney's a very good ball player in central midfield. The signings of Sarri and, of course, Andre Schürrle are exciting. Players that you don't expect Fulham to get and they've got, and of course the teenage sensation Ryan Sessegnon, who I expect to play left back actually next season instead of left midfield. I like him on the left wing, he's really good at moving in behind, but of course with Fulham signing of someone like Andre Schürrle, he'll probably play on the left and Sessegnon just in behind. But again, there'll be a team that you need to tune in on those Sunday mornings, early doors. Fulham are going to be the guys to excite you this season in the Premier League. Moving to some more boring teams, we've got Newcastle, again the signing of Kennedy, a very good signing, but again, no money spent by Mike Ashley once again in the transfer window. Just sad times for Newcastle fans. Of course, Bournemouth will just keep it ticking along. Eddie Howe, a great manager, and just has a good group of players at the moment that he will keep playing with, the likes of Lewis Cook, a very talented young player. Moving to the last sort of team in this boring block, of course, is Crystal Palace. Roy Hodgson has got Palace playing a good style of football in the Premier League, defensive, good on the counter-attack, with Wilfried Zaha leading them forward. Moving on to the overachievers of the Premier League this season, it will be Wolverhampton Wanderers. Jorge Mendes has taken some Chinese investment and pretty much set up a Portuguese team in the Championship last season, of course, them coming first and being promoted as champions. Nuno Espirito Santo has been playing a 3-4-3 with Wolves so far. Very progressive style, nice on the ball, a lot of attacking play, wing-backs nice and high, and a lot of fluidity in their front three. There's a lot of players that will impress you this season in the Premier League. Diogo Jota, even Cannavaro, and of course the main man, Raul Jimenez, through the middle, who they brought in from Benfica, who will be suited to dealing with Premier League centre-halves, aggressive, physical, and good in the air. Why I think Wolves are going to do so well, though, is the investment's been good. Of course, João Moutinho being brought in from Monaco to potentially be paired with Ruben Neves. Ruben Neves, at 21 years old, really reminds me of when Mascherano went to West Ham United. A player that's sort of coming to Wolves to maybe take it as a stepping stone to a bigger European club. Last season in the Championship, he completely ran the show from defensive midfield, controlling the tempo, spreading passes out, scoring absolute bangers. He's a player that I see definitely will be playing for a top 6 side. Tottenham could be signing him next summer, would be perfect for them in defensive midfield. If you want to see more of Wolves, there'll be a video on the Statman Dave YouTube channel on Wednesday of how Santo will set up Wolves next season. So now let's move on to the Europa League bracket. Again, if the teams in the top 6 win the League Cup and the FA Cup, like it's kind of expected, 7th position will be open for one of those sort of guys that are spending a bit of cash to get into, the likes of West Ham United, Wolves, who we just spoke about, Leicester City, and Everton. First up, let's talk about Everton, because I think they're going to be at the bottom of this little bracket. Signing Alisson, Yerry Mina, 2 players that I think will evolve the side. Marco Silva's got to get a different style of football across to his players at Everton. Marco Silva was approached last January. It sort of broke down. It pretty much got him sacked at Watford. But I like his style of football. Progressive, pressing, switching up between a back 3, a back 4. Everton will start to become a real force in the Premier League under Marco Silva, but I feel it'll take a few seasons. Alisson is the danger man for them. £50 million was spent on the Brazilian winger, but I'm a big fan. Very good in the defensive sense, in the pressing, in the working hard, but also the guy that's going to create something out of nothing, but then get into the penalty area. Reminds me a little bit of Cristiano Ronaldo when he was coming through the ranks in terms of how he arrives in the penalty area, but also how he receives the ball deep and looks to drive at you, either coming on the inside and the outside. Alisson will be a very good player in the Premier League this season for Everton, but I kind of think they'll be the bottom of this Europa League bracket. Moving to West Ham United, new manager coming in again in the Premier League, Manuel Pellegrini, a Premier League champion with Manchester City. Expect him to play a 4-2-2-2 at West Ham United, with interiors, wide players that come inside and look to play make at number 10. The signings of Yarmolenko and Felipe Anderson add a real spark in that final third that only Arnautovic brought to West Ham last season. In terms of Felipe Anderson, he's going to be the guy that I expect to really evolve at West Ham United. You think Pellegrini's worked with some really good wide players in the past, with Isco emerging under Pellegrini at Malaga. I expect Felipe Anderson to have a similar impact there. If the guy can stay fit, he's an absolute world beater. That's the only reason why he's not playing for one of the top European sides. Jack Wilshere's going to be an interesting signing as well. I imagine Pellegrini will use him at defensive midfield and maybe attacking midfield as well, in rotation to allow Wilshere to play make from deep or as a number 10 against sort of stronger teams or weaker teams. Going to be exciting times for West Ham United again, playing with very fluid front 4. On to Leicester City, who are going to be vying for that Europa League spot. Yes, they lost Riyad Mahrez, who's been such a vital part of their position in the Premier League since they were promoted, but unfortunately he's gone. Players have come in and I've been quite impressed with who they've signed. James Maddison from Norwich scored 14 goals and grabbed 8 assists in the Championship last season, but what he is, he's a creative hub. 124 chances he created in the Championship last season, which was more than any other player. And I feel for this Leicester City side that's lost Mahrez's creativity on the wing, moving to a number 10 in James Maddison, they're going to have a really good guy in there that can pick a little pocket of space behind sign Jamie Vardy. Again, a 20-goal-a-season striker in the Premier League. That's what Vardy's been doing. Really good player. That would be perfect, Maddison. Creating from that area, playing through Vardy, getting the goals, getting the assists, all the good stuff. We also like the signing of Johnny Evans. That was a really cheap deal again, to potentially partner Harry Maguire, but also Ricardo Pereira, signed from Porto, but in fact has been playing as a right winger instead of a right back. With him on one side, with Albright on the other, will allow Maddison to maybe not do so much defensive work and focus more on creating those chances for Jamie Vardy. Moving to Wolves, those guys are going to get the Europa League position. 7th place for Nuno Espirito Santo's Wolverhampton Wanderers. Incredible stuff that Jorge Mendes has done there, developing another sort of Portuguese team in the Premier League. Exciting times for the Midlands club. Right guys, it's time for the top 6. Make sure to get in the comments who is your top 6 in the Premier League next season. This is so difficult. This is the first time we've seen 6 top-class managers in the Premier League. That's a Pochettino, Sarri, of course Mourinho, Klopp, Guardiola, and of course Unai Emery. In terms of 6th position, I think it's going to be Chelsea. With the Europa League and the lack of squad depth, but also getting sort of adjusted from being a counter-attacking side under Antonio Conte to Sarri ball, it's going to take a bit of time. Jorginho really needs, of course, N'Golo Kante next to him. Jorginho is a player that is so good on the ball, a regista that will dictate the play, that will control the tempo of games. But winning the ball back isn't one of his biggest strengths. He needs someone like N'Golo Kante to come next to him. For me, I think Chelsea maybe need to position themselves as a 4-2-3-1 instead of a 4-3-3 that we've seen under Sarri at Napoli. And this will allow Jorginho to have a little bit more protection in front of that back four. It will push someone like Ross Barkley a little bit further forward. The other problem for Chelsea again is their striker. Morata looks so out of form and confidence right now. For me, Eden Hazard needs to stop moaning about playing false nine and play goddamn false nine. That will allow him to be in the penalty area, score more goals, and arguably push himself into that bracket of Messi, Ronaldo, and Neymar. Hazard has never scored more than 17 goals in the Premier League, and I feel moving him to a central striker massively important. Which means that the left wing spot will be open for Callum Hudson-Odoi, a very exciting talent. I've done a scout report up here, so go and check that out if you want to know more about the Youth England International. 17 years old, but God, is he a good, talented player. But unfortunately, it will be 6th position as Chelsea transition from defensive football to possession football. One of the hardest transitions ever. Right, let's do 5th position, another one that I couldn't really decide on. Arsenal and Spurs. They're going to be 4th and 5th in the Premier League next season. I've gone with Spurs in 5th position though because they haven't bought any players. They haven't made any further investments. With the Premier League and the managers that have come in, I don't think you can stop now. You've got to continually evolve. Spurs lack maybe a left back and they lack definitely a controlling central midfielder. Again, Ruben Neves would have been perfect if they went out and bought him this summer. The problem there is we saw in the Champions League against the likes of Juventus that Spurs really struggle to break teams down. Moussa Dembele is a wonderful player, but he isn't quite a sort of dictator, a guy that can control the tempo. I think for Spurs to evolve, they need someone like that in their side. Again, Harry Kane's going to score a hatful of goals and will be up there for the race for the Golden Boot. Let's do that right now. Again, Mo Salah winning that last season with 32 goals. I think there'll be a few players that are in and around Mo Salah. Harry Kane being one, his 30 goals last season, outstanding. Sergio Aguero will be there, but more on him a little bit later on. Lukaku's going to be in the mix, but the guy that may sort of jump out and surprise everyone, Aubameyang. 10 goals in just 13 games for Arsenal in the Premier League. A guy that just loves sort of putting the ball in the back of the net. He's a guy that likes to, make that last little move, a poacher, sort of waiting at the back post and just put those tap-ins into the goal. And I expect him to do really well. But in terms of the Golden Boot, I'm going to go for Mo Salah, number 1, Kane, number 2, and Aubameyang, number 3. Moving to 4th position, it's going to be Unai Emery's Arsenal. I think he's really going to surprise a lot of people with his style, and he's going to unlock Mesut Ozil. Ozil's had a pretty bad last 12 months. His form has not been great. But someone like Unai Emery that's had really good past relationships with playmakers, even Banega, even Rakitic, giving them that protection in front of the back four with 2 strong defensive midfielders, allowing them to have a free role, and really feel that'll get the best out of the German international. A guy that we mentioned before, Aubameyang and Lacazette, both look like they're combining together. Aubameyang has played on the left wing in pre-season for Arsenal and expect him to play there with Lacazette through the middle. And of course, Arsenal solved their biggest problem over the last few seasons, signing an aggressive defensive midfielder. Lucas Torreira is going to be absolutely fantastic in the Premier League, aggressive, Gattuso-like, really good at winning that ball back. Expect someone like Guendouzi as well to really emerge as a talent for Arsenal this season. Good in defensive midfield, strong, physical, and good in the tackle. 2 powerful guys there that can allow Mesut Ozil to distribute the ball and completely control the game of football. Moving forward to third position, again, another really hard decision. I've gone with Manchester United, and I feel that's because teams above them have maybe strengthened a little bit better. But I do like the United signings. Fred and Dalot coming in from Porto and, of course, Shakhtar Donetsk, respectively. Two really, really good players. Fred's going to be the breakout star for United this season in defensive midfield, controlling the tempo, either in a 4-2-3-1 or a 4-3-3. Fred is going to be dropping down on the number 8 line, picking up the ball deep and distributing it to Paul Pogba. Pogba coming back to United after lifting the World Cup with France. Big season for, of course, the midfield maestro. 6 goals and 10 assists in the Premier League last season was good, considering he had a really injury-hit campaign. In and out of course, Mourinho's first team. Expect him to sort of improve United to be really good. The setup could either be a 4-3-3, a 3-5-2, with, of course, Sanchez and Lukaku playing together. Alexis Sanchez has looked really, really fresh in pre-season. I expect him to have a really good season at United. With Alexis Sanchez playing next to Romelu Lukaku, I think the Chilean is going to explode. Another guy that will explode, big Romelu Lukaku. Fantastic leadership qualities displayed at the World Cup with Belgium, but also his pace, his ability on the ball. United just need to play through Lukaku, be direct to Lukaku, play off Lukaku, and then United will score a lot more goals than he did last season. On to second place in the Premier League, it's going to be Liverpool. They've solved their problems. They've signed their new goalkeeper, Alisson, one of the best goalkeepers in world football right now. A shot stopper, good with the ball at his feet, and just an all-round talented guy. But also bringing the likes of Naby Keita, replacing Philippe Coutinho, who left last summer, and Fabinho. Fabinho is going to be the linchpin in midfield, anchoring it in front of the back four. If you want to see more on Liverpool, go and check out this How Jurgen Klopp Will Set Up Liverpool Next Season video linked above. But I kind of expect Liverpool to bring their Champions League goal-scoring form, again, top scorers in the Champions League by a country mile last year, to the Premier League and blow teams away. And that front three of Firmino, Salah and Mane is going to be destroying Premier League defences. The only reason why I don't think they'll quite catch Manchester City is because of their centre-halves. Virgil van Dijk is unbelievable. He really improved the Liverpool back four, but they've still got that little bit of a hole. Dejan Lovren is still that mark in that Liverpool team, which means I don't think they'll win the Premier League. Now it's time to talk about the champions, Manchester City, Pep Guardiola, all that possession. I think we'll move on to win the Premier League once again. You know, evolving their side slightly, signing the likes of Riyad Mahrez from Leicester City. Gives them a different option on the right wing or the left wing. Tricky, good at coming inside onto his stronger foot. But you're thinking what they've got, the 3/8 in central midfield, David Silva and Kevin De Bruyne. 4 City players last season got over 10 assists in the Premier League, and that shows their ability to create but also score goals. Like the likes of Sane, Sterling, De Bruyne, and of course David Silva. It's going to be another very good goal-scoring season for Manchester City. I don't expect them to break records, but I expect them to win the Premier League. Sergio Aguero could be the guy to really take City on this season. Different to Gabriel Jesus, but arguably what this City team needs right now is that poacher that's going to stay on the last line with the likes of De Bruyne, Silva to thread the balls through. It's all going to be about Sergio Aguero this season. For Manchester City, the most improved player last season was Raheem Sterling, 18 goals in the Premier League. I expect him to improve again. I'd like to see him through the middle if Sergio Aguero isn't fit. I don't think City will break their points total of last season. I think there's some really good managers that have come into the Premier League that could deal with Guardiola's style. We saw Jurgen Klopp press City out the back to really good effect. Unai Emery will do a similar thing. Sarri as well will press really high, and Manchester United in pre-season, of course, have also started to jump the gun. And I do feel that City will be good next season, but they won't be quite as good as last year. It was quite a weak Premier League last season, so expect City to do well, but not as good as they did before. Anyway, guys, I've been Statman Dave. Make sure, of course, to like that goddamn video, subscribe if you're new, and get in the comments below your prediction from 20 to number 1. I want top scorer, I want underachiever, overachiever, and who is going to get sacked first. Anyway, see you guys later.